Marvel's branching out big time into TV with 4 new Netflix shows and a miniseries that will tie them all together. But of the characters who are coming to the small screen, it's probably Jessica Jones who is the least well known. So let's take a look back at Jessica and her unique history at Marvel. As always, we've got spoilers from the comics here. But who exactly is Jessica Jones? A relatively new character in the comics, Jessica first appeared in Alias #1 in 2001. No, not that Alias. The book was the first to come out of Marvel's equivalent of an R-rated imprint, the adult-themed Max line. Created by fan-favorite writer Brian Michael Bendis and artist Michael Gaydos, the series introduced Jones as a former superhero turned private detective. In one of Marvel's more noteworthy instances of retconning, which is to say the rethinking of continuity after the fact, it turns out Jessica had previously been a minor league hero called Jewel, operating on the outskirts of the Marvel Universe. But that was short-lived, and by the time we first meet her in Alias, she's already moved on to a civilian life as a detective, working cases that are invariably tied to the fringes of the superhero world in some way. The book wasn't just mature in the sense that it used profanity and featured sex scenes, like the frank and rather unerotic encounter between the hero Luke Cage and Jessica that happens the very first issue, but Jessica was also a complicated, damaged, and very real character that appealed to readers, as did Alias's unique spin on the Marvel Universe. Alias wasn't about action and superhero theatrics, but was more of a street-level, realistic take on that familiar world. Eventually, Jessica's secret origin was revealed, as was the reason why she left the superhero game in the first place. It's pretty dark stuff. It turns out she had been abducted by the Daredevil villain the Purple Man, who took control of her mind and essentially turned her into a slave, psychologically abusing her for months. Eventually, Jessica would break free of this horrific situation after a run-in with the Avengers, only to learn that nobody had even noticed she was gone during the months she was held prisoner. Ironically enough, even as we the readers had never known her during her superhero years, neither apparently had the other heroes of the world really noticed Jessica. The book only ran for 28 issues, but during that time several key Marvel characters were established as important players in Jessica's life. Aside from Luke Cage, there was Jessica's friend Carol Danvers, better known as Miss Marvel and currently Captain Marvel, and Daredevil, or at least his alter ego Matt Murdock, also shows up, as does a version of Ant-Man and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Clay Quartermain. And it turns out that Jessica even went to high school with Peter Parker and had an unrequited crush on him that he was totally oblivious about. After Alias, Jessica Jones moved on to a short-lived series called The Pulse that was set in the world of the Daily Bugle, bringing her more directly into the mainstream Marvel universe. In time, she would marry Luke Cage and have his baby, and eventually she even joined a variation on Earth's Mightiest Heroes called the New Avengers. But it's the more adult-oriented version of the character that is of most interest to fans, and that's the take that seems to tie into Marvel and Netflix's plan. Together with the Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Daredevil series, Jessica Jones will delve, according to the companies, deep into the gritty world of heroes and villains of Hell's Kitchen. This will eventually lead into the crossover miniseries called The Defenders. Interestingly, Marvel had previously been developing a Jessica Jones show for ABC called AKA Jessica Jones. Dexter and Twilight scripter Melissa Rosenberg was behind that project, and now she's back for the Netflix version too. And it sounds like Rosenberg has a firm grasp on Jessica Jones. Here's what she told IGN earlier this year. "I love this character that is kind of a B-level superhero. She's not in one world or another. She's just a mess, but she's driven by a need to do something greater." A mess who's driven to do something greater. Sounds like a perfect Marvel hero to us. The first Netflix series will arrive in 2015, with Jessica Jones expected to follow soon after.